The following production is part of the Play Some Video Games Podcast Network.
Hey everyone, Kevin here. Before we get started with this evening's podcast, we just have to give a quick shout out to our amazing Patreon supporters over at patreon.com/PSVG. Gotta give big thanks to our Patreon producers, Coach Hulk, Edwin Callow, Devin Tyus, Chris M, Kyle Heyman, Nick, Nathan, Caroline, Grouchy Surge, Justin Picker, Delvin Cox, Josh Barboni, Barry Cathcart, and Paul Calicote. Thank you all so much for what you do for us. PSVG DLC number 3 is recording this weekend, so look for that soon to hit your exclusive Patreon feeds. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, well, then clearly you don't give us any money. And while we appreciate your patronage, if you want in on those goodies, you can get in for just $1 a month over at patreon.com/PSVG. And don't forget, we are soon drawing for this month's giveaway. It's not too late to get in on that action as we do every single month. But this month we have available a copy of Anthem on Xbox, 3 months to Game Pass, Yakuza 6 on PS4, or $20 to the Nintendo eShop, available for the winner to choose. So it's up to you. Get in there, patreon.com/PSVG. And now on to this week's episode of Play Some Video Games. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of PSVG, the only gaming podcast with more announcements than Gearbox at PAX East. It is I, your host, as always, Kevin, and with me, my co-host, the Sir Lucas of Rose.
Why, hello, sires and ladies, m'ladies.
See, I had to give you that fancy intro to class up the joint a little bit, because we have slumming it in the third seat. Well, actually, I don't know if did we even invite him? I think he just crashed on the chair. Justin from the PlayStation Experience. How we doing, man?
Are we doing a podcast?
Well, I mean, you just happen to be here.
I thought we were playing Apex Legends. Apex Legends!
Well,
that's what I tell my wife every time I go play Apex.
That's how you say it?
Oh, yeah, every time.
Hey, babe,
she even started saying it like that. She has no idea what it is. She probably thinks I'm playing some, like, I don't know, Linkin Park game or something. Because it's just like Screamo.
Well, that's the thing too. Is like my wife, when I come upstairs, if it's a non-podcasting night, I come upstairs, she's like, "Who are you talking to?" I was like, "Oh, I was playing Apex or whatever." And sometimes I yell too. And just like, "What happened? What game are you playing tonight?" And yeah, it's been that. So, but we'll get to that. So, what you been playing? Might as well just jump right into it, Justin. You and I can talk about this one because we have this one in common.
We did. We even shared this.
We did. Common. We played together a few times, actually.
Yeah,
so,
that's very true.
Apex Legends, the battle pass is out. Did you pick it up or no?
I did. I picked up the standard $10 version.
Me too. I wasn't jumping in there, dropping dollar bills like Seth in a strip club. Just throwing around that money to Apex. But
when the man's made of money, you do what you want.
It's true. Fancy driving wheels.
You want,
fancy driving wheels. The bigger battle pass. Yeah, it's all that stuff. But we've gotten to play a few times, and that run we had the other morning actually was quite good.
It was. Yeah, we almost did well. Of course, Seth kept dying. So
Seth kept dying, and we had to keep saving him, and that put us in a compromised position, I think.
Yeah, but no, I keep having fun with this game and the battle pass. I really I kind of like it. More or less, I wanted to really support this game because I been putting a ton of time into it. So wanted to put the $10 towards them, but really when I look at the battle pass and like the levels, like I'm not leveling up like I do in the regular. Like it's baffling that it doesn't have the same progression as the regular levels. Like, because I love that starting out the game, I was like quickly gaining levels and all my progress counted, and it was a huge plus over Blackout, which I had a huge problem with their progression in Blackout.
Yeah.
And I thought Apex kind of fixed that. And then this Battle Pass comes out and it's kind of back to that slow grind. And also I was under the assumption that Battle Passes kind of just standardly had, what do you call them?
Boosts?
Yeah. Well, boosts. Yeah, that's another thing that's missing. But when you have to like get 5 kills as like certain character.
Oh, like goals.
Objectives.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know how to speak English. No, speak it English. So I thought for sure, I was like, okay, cool. There's gonna be these goals and these stuff to do to like push me into different characters, and that'll help me earn more points. I'm like, none of that's there. It's just, you slowly grind up and get a few skins here and there. So
yeah, I will say, so I heard you guys talk about on PSXP, so I can opine a little bit more as far as like the Fortnite stuff is concerned, because I've been a regular Battle Pass person there. And you're right, they give you, not only do you have like these levels up and you gain extra gear, skins, which skins in Fortnite is drastically different than skins in Apex if you think about it, only because essentially, because of your characters having those special abilities, a skin in Apex literally is just changing a color of the person's outfit. You're not changing the way the person actually looks. Whereas in Fortnite, like every skin is technically a different character per se.
Yeah.
And you're right, we get objectives weekly on Fortnite. So every week is a set of I think 10. It's either 8 or 10 challenges to go that give you, if you do this, get 5 shotgun kills, you will gain a huge like 5,000 XP for reaching that goal on top of your normal XP as you're grinding through. So these would be beneficial for you to do, and they add a different twist to the game, give you something to do other than say, I'm just going to go out and win. You might do something wacky you never would do, like try and get rocket launcher kills or whatever the case is. So yeah, I do miss that in Apex. I'm with you though too. I wanted to support the game, so I threw the $10 in. I'm staying optimistic that because this is the first time they're doing this, that they're going to figure out something better, hopefully for the next time. I'm a little disappointed that Octane didn't come with the battle pass, I guess, because we're only getting cosmetics and nothing that really drastically changes anything. I feel like that $10 is like, we're gonna have to grind the heck out of it to get to those things, and realistically it's not anything that substantially different. So Fortnite, you get skins for you do get weapon skins, not too, but you have like your backpack is different, your axe is different, your character is different, your glider is different. Apex doesn't have any of that. It's like, nope, just your characters and your guns look different, and your guns are literally by each gun you get skins for. It's not like with Fortnite you get a skin, you can apply it to anything.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Or everything. Yeah, like you'll get like a camo skin, and you can say, I want all my vehicles to have that camo skin, or I want all my guns to have that camo skin. Whereas, in Apex, you literally get a skin for this, the Peacemaker gun, and that's it. Like, so it's a little frustrating there, and I'm with you with the, you need like 5,000 XP to upgrade to level up normally, but in the battle pass it's like 25,000. Yeah. So exactly. Unless you're winning regularly, I don't know how you're going to get through this really that quick. I think I'm just about level 3.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm just a little bit into level 2, and I'm having good games, getting several kills. Good games for me. I'm not winning, but me either. I don't like winning. I like to share the glory a little bit. So second place, silver, bronze. I'm good with that.
You make other people feel better about themselves. That's
exactly.
Cool. Yeah.
Sure. That's why I dress like this. I just want you guys to feel good.
But yeah, it's fitting. I mean, we had a great run with that though, and it was funny because it's like 6 a.m. and none of us really talked till like halfway through that match. Not a single word was uttered between the three of us because it was too early. Like, no,
my voice box doesn't work that early.
Well, that too, and I think I started talking just because like, Justin, get in the circle, I'll heal you. Like, come on, stop messing around out there, get in. But yeah, so we're no surprise there. Still having a lot of fun with Apex Legends, and I jumped in on the Battle Pass too on PlayStation, so I can play with you and Seth because your schedules typically align with mine better than some other people who are playing over in the Xbox world. So it's fun, and I'm sure we'll get a lot of game time out of it between the three of us for sure. So good times. What else are you playing?
The only other game I've been playing, I jumped into The Witness because it was a free game of the month on PS4. So jumped into that. I talked about a tiny bit on PSXP, but I've actually played more in the last day. And it's a puzzle game. It's like literally just a puzzle game. I do think it's kind of like cool, like the like weird, bizarre mystery around the island. And like I found a couple little voice recorders of just there's no cohesive story there. It's just random thoughts from these people who recorded, on these voice recorders. I got into the first, like I was walking around, saw a puzzle, looked at it, didn't understand it, kept walking. That's also how I operate in regular life as well too. I just walk around. Seeing me drive is just insane. Walk to the next to another area. Same puzzle, same type of puzzle, but it actually started from like the very base of like what you're trying to do in that puzzle. So it kind of taught me how to do that type of puzzle. And then I would realize this, okay, I can go back to this other area, unlock that now because I understand what that puzzle means. So yeah, I'm gonna keep just plucking away at it. Especially with like these puzzle games, if I get too frustrated or stuck on something, I just turn it off. So
yeah. Now, so I picked that up too because it was a PS Plus last month, I think, right? Yeah,
this month.
This month,
yeah,
that's right. Yeah, because it's almost over. Would this be a good game, you think, for me to play like with my wife? Like, is this a game that two people can really kind of go through and help solve the puzzle, or is it really like it'll just cause more confusion?
I think so, because when you go up to a puzzle, it fills the screen, and yeah, you have the controls, or she might have the controls, but you can talk about like, okay, well, how like the first couple puzzles are literally just like a maze.
Sure,
it's so brain dead simple, and then it adds stuff from there, and it's like, well, whoever the one of you is the first to figure it out, like, oh, this is how you have to trace your way through there. You have to like follow these rules. I think it would work if your wife or whoever you're playing with likes puzzles.
Cool. Yeah, because we used to play. I mean, this goes back in the day. We would play like Myst or Riven or like Seventh Guest, 11th Hour. I mean, all the games Lucas knows. And we would play them together because it wasn't really like I would play and then she would play. It's like no, we kind of sat through and just went through these different obscure puzzles with a very loose story around it. And this kind of reminded me of those heydays.
I get the same thing. Yeah,
but much better looking.
Very similar experience here.
Cool
for you.
Why don't you
that's it for me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hey, I have a game that was made recently to talk about. I know, and I didn't even get it from Humble Bundle. Can you believe it? It's Division 2, the game that everyone should be playing instead of any other game that they might be playing in this sort of category. If you're playing Anthem, forget about it. You're done. You're done, son. Get this game now because it's good.
And is that DC accent that you're trying to go for, or is that Boston accent?
Did they have it? No, it was a.
Can you give me your best DC accent? What's a DC accent?
I didn't even know they have an accent. Do they?
It's politicians. They just lie. That's the accent, right?
That's true.
My fellow Americans.
You gotta use your thumb, like this.
I do when I'm playing my video games.
Ew.
What were we talking about? Oh, Division 2. Yeah, it takes place in Washington, D.C. You're right. But here's the thing. I'm not really much of a Division player. I had the first one through Humble Bundle, and then Division 2 was set to come out a few months later. So I only played that once, but I heard the stories, right? Bullet spongy enemies, broken multiplayer experiences where people found out you could just line up at this console that everybody needs to use. And then you're just stuck waiting for that one person to go through the line of, all these people who have to interact with this one thing to continue the story or whatever it is. None of that has happened to me in Division 2. It's like they've learned from all of their mistakes, including the enemies, which are just spongy enough. They don't die in one headshot or anything, but they do die in a couple of headshots, depending on what weapon you're using. So it feels a lot better. Feels more like, hey, I'm doing damage to this enemy as opposed to I'm just throwing bullets and hoping one day that this thing will die. I have yet to play it multiplayer, but I'm having enough fun playing solo, and it almost feels like a solo game anyways, like a Ubisoft solo game, because there are things to collect. There are these tech caches that you can spend on different upgrades to some of your skills and some other things like carrying more grenades, that type of thing. So you can collect those. And as you walk around DC, one of the best things I found is that the world feels alive. I don't know how bad Division 1 was with this, but in Division 2, you'll be walking around and things will be happening. You can hear allies, I'll say, not teammates, because I haven't encountered other people, so I think it's instanced. You have people who come into the world with you, but you have shared communities where you go to a settlement or something, and you'll see people there. But then as soon as you leave, you're kind of by yourself. But you'll see NPC allies who are going to gather something, and they run into some of the enemies on the way there, and they have a firefight with or without you. It's happening regardless of whether or not you're there. You'll run across public executions or people who are being guarded and have been taken hostage. So you'll find these enemies doing things across the map, regardless of whether or not you're there, and you can choose to intervene or not. And those aren't even really, those things just happen no matter where you go. They're just kind of global, I don't want to say events, but they're kind of part of the immersion and the immersive gameplay, I suppose. Whereas then, of course, you have your typical side missions and main missions, which involve go in this building, shoot everybody there, and then leave. Or at least that seems to be what the basis of the game is. But it's a good thing that the combat and everything feels so good, because otherwise that would get old. But the movement system, you can vault over things easily. You can sprint, so it feels like you're actually getting places fairly quickly. Of course, you always have gear, picking up lots of gear. You'll have so many guns you don't know what to do with most of them, and you can mod them out as well, which is always nice. So yeah, really enjoying the Division 2. The story is okay. I mean, it's based in reality, so
reality sucks. So yeah.
Exactly. You're not flying around like Iron Man. So if you do want to feel like Iron Man, then yeah, keep playing Anthem. But I do feel like this game doesn't get enough people talking about it because it came out with so many other newer things coming out with Apex and Anthem and other games that start with A that aren't, the second thing in the series. So I think most people are like, oh, I already played the Division. I know what that's about. So I can wait on that. But it's a solid experience. It's really good right now. I'm level 7 right now, and so I have a long ways to go. I think the level cap's 30, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm really getting some FOMO on this game now too, and I was always like kind of semi-interested, but when Donnie was like, "No, I want Anthem," that's where I stacked. Like I made the purchase for Anthem for both of us through GameShare because I was like, "All right, I think that's the one we're going to enjoy more." And you're right, it's games now are tough, man. Like everything's like the flavor of the week for like a week, and then they moved on to something else. So it's like, man, everyone loved Anthem, and then like no one's talking about it. Everyone's like, well, we'll put it aside, maybe come back to it someday. Like Division, same thing as everything's on right now. Is like, how long is that going to last before they moved on to whatever's next? Like it sucks because like you don't want to spend $60 on something and then just be like, a month from now it's $30. Like Far Cry New Dawn that's already been dropped down to 20. We've seen on sale, which I have no regrets for what I paid for that game because I absolutely loved it. But it's like, man, if I just waited a month, I could have got it for half of what I paid for it and still had a great time with it. And so it's like, damn, I try and not make these purchases, but hearing you and some of our community members talk about Division, it's like, it sounds like a lot of fun, man.
It feels good for being, like I said, for being based in reality. I mean, it feels like a good Ubisoft experience. It's got all the things. It's got great movement, I'm actually playing with a controller. I'm not afraid to say that, even though I'm on PC, and it feels fine. Like I've had no problems with it. It looks good. It's not the best looking game. I felt like, not knowing much about Anthem, but having seen it, I would say Anthem looks better. But who cares when you're just shooting, enemies off in the distance or whatever.
True.
But yeah, it's just good. I'm having a good time with it, and I look forward to playing it more. You know what I mean? The one thing I will say is I usually play it for about an hour to an hour and a half, and then I'm kind of ready to be done. So it's not a typical game where I feel like I could spend 3 or 4 hours if I had the time to do that. I'm just kind of like, okay, I've done a few things. Now I'm gonna be done with it. But it lends itself to that anyway, because you can hop in, do a couple missions, fast travel if you want to, and then hop back out and be done. So having a good old time with it. Here, for some reason, I picked this game up because it was free and I started playing it, and then I just kind of let it go. But then I came back to it because I thought to myself, you know what? I know it's not long and I just need to finish it. And that's Captain Spirit. And this game had a lot of buzz because they released it free, and wasn't it available as soon as they announced that it was free? It was
like an announcement, and hey, it's available now.
Well, no. There was a demo.
Oh, is that
and so there was a demo now, and then it came out shortly after. I believe. Gotcha. Yeah, because I think pretty sure that's how it worked.
Gotcha. Well, people were excited. Well, people who like Life is Strange, so a few people.
Donnie.
Yeah, that's me too. I'm big fan.
Oh, that's right.
Me as well. And but it was weird because you see this and you're like, I don't know what any of this is about. Some kid who thinks he's a superhero, whatever. So I played it and I did end up beating it finally, and it was kind of more Life is Strange. It has that feeling. It has the wimpy, weird music that makes you feel like you're a teenager and need to be sitting in your bedroom crying.
Hey man, they pick some good music in that. Don't put down the music. That's like my favorite part of it. So I think
the mood. I will say that like it fits the game. It's just every song is that exact same.
Sometimes I want to be an emo girl. All right, just leave me alone.
There's nothing wrong with that. Feel your feelings. Put on your eyeliner, and then when you're ready, I will open arms.
Sometimes you just want to rock out to some My Chemical Romance, bro. All right.
Oh, that's sort
leave me alone.
Me down. That's fine. It's the morose. It's like they put the same filter on every single song so that it sounds like it's coming from a 1950s radio.
Yes.
And you're just like, oh man. But yeah, this game is kind of a bummer to a certain degree, but I was happy that it kind of ended on an upper sort of, because you're just like, what did I just see? What just happened? Then of course you'll see more of this kid apparently in Life is Strange 2, I believe it says at the end. So it says. Yeah. So that gets you excited, I would imagine, for Life is Strange 2, till you find out they're going to take like 10 years to bring out every episode. Apparently.
Oh God. I have to play episode 2. So I played episode 1 of season 2, and no sign of Captain Spirit, which is like the whole reason. So I did not like the original Life is Strange. I didn't finish it because I just wasn't feeling it. Didn't play Before the Storm. But Captain Spirit was enough to get me to say, hey, I'll give it a shot. Number one, because it was free. And I was like, oh, this sounds good. This seems kind of cool. I'll check it out. And I was charmed by it. I found it charming. So I enjoyed it. So I was like, okay, Donnie, I will give Life is Strange 2 a go. Played through episode 1. Didn't really feel anything special at all going on in it. And no Captain Spirit as of yet. And I guess I haven't played episode 2 yet, but that's out. But I don't think Donnie's mentioned it. So I don't think he's there yet either. So
yeah.
Wonder if it happens. It's probably like episode 2 or 3.
It's like an Easter egg. He's just in the background somewhere walking on the street. It has nothing to do with him actually being in the game. So it's gonna be like, there he is.
He's like flying through the sky. Is that a bird or a plane? Yeah, it is charming. That's a perfect word to use for it, because the kid, you're just rooting for him. That darn dad is just such a miserable loser. Like,
yeah.
I understand. Yeah, he's just
pretty bad.
Whiskey and watching basketball. He's like the worst nightmare of dads.
Yeah,
it's even implied that he may, beat the poor kid, and it's just like, gosh. Yeah. Thankfully, they don't show it. So
yeah, I did the same thing with this game that I think you did. I played it for like, I don't know, half hour, and for some reason I just never went back to it, and it's just sitting on my PlayStation home screen like begging me to like just finish it. Same reason. Like, I know it's short, so like I never seen the upper side of it. I've just seen the really depressing beginning of this game. So that's all it is. That's, if I see that kid in Life is Strange 2, I'm just gonna assume that he's a very abused young child.
Well, the one upper part of it really only lasts for the last 10 seconds or so.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay. It's mostly misery, which is what I'm all about. So
exactly. So yeah, I was pleasantly surprised with Captain Spirit and glad that I finished it. These last two things I'll make real quick. So Josh and I, we were going to play some games. Josh, of course, from Bored with Video Games. We were going to play some games, and he was like, hey, do you mind if we play some board games? Because I need some board games to talk about on the show. And I said, no, that's fine. So we happen to have one that we both already owned, and that was Pathfinder Adventure, which is a digitized version of a card/board game that sort of streamlines the idea of dungeon crawling to a certain degree. So instead of moving around on an actual board or anything, well, you still do, but you only go to certain locations. Once you're at that location, the location itself is represented by a deck of cards that have items, monsters, loot, blessings, curses, whatever, inside of that deck. So you're not really moving around physically, but you are going through this deck, and that's the whole kind of, most of the time, that's the objective. So we're like, well, I was thinking to myself, I should probably know what I'm doing before I get into this. So why don't we play the tutorial together? Because he had played the game before, but not on PC. and he couldn't remember. Maybe they house ruled some things, so you got to see exactly how they want you to play it. So we go through this tutorial, and it was probably an hour long altogether. Maybe it just felt like an hour. I don't know. And so we go through all of this, and then we get to the main screen, and we're like, okay, it's time to play together. How do we do that? I'm at the main menu. Let's get into, well, maybe I can just invite you through Steam. So I'm checking. Nope, no way to invite you through Steam. So I look at the store page on Steam, and I'm thinking, man, I don't see anything here that says multiplayer. Sure enough, I find it, and it says single player only.
It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, you would assume. Same thing happened with what's the game where I always forget the name. Pandemic.
Yes.
You would assume, because that game
that's not multiplayer either?
Nope. It's a cooperative game, and you would assume that you can play cooperatively. I think you can locally, but no, not over the internet.
See, I'm glad I almost bought that Humble Bundle, and I'm glad I didn't now, because I would have been so mad if I couldn't play half the games with you guys. Like,
I looked through it, and I think only 3 of them were multiplayer over the internet. So that was we just felt so dumb. We spent like an hour doing all and it's just like, oh, by the way, we can't play together. Cool.
That's right. Josh mentioned this on his show. Actually, it came out today, the Board with VG. And I thought it was funny. So you introduced it. Hey, it's Josh from Board with Video Games, like you just said.
Yeah.
Did you hear the episode yet?
No, I haven't listened yet.
So he was like, I was playing with Lucas. You might know Lucas from like Flux the Pose, if you've heard of Flux the Pose, and I'm screaming at the car radio, and I'm like, dude, he's on our channel now. Like, that should be the go-to. Not like you might have heard of Flux the Pose and you know him from that. But like,
yeah, you got to keep it in house, man. I'm on your network now. Come on, bro.
He doesn't see you as an equal. That's what it is.
Yeah, that must be what it is. Or maybe he just knows me from Flux to Pose, and he
doesn't know you from the show.
He's like, I can't get.
Well, no one listens to this show,
and that's garbage. So, it's Prime. Everyone has to listen to Prime. Everything else is optional.
It's all extras after that.
Sorry. Yeah, it is all extra. We cover everything here, including a game called Twilight Struggle. Now, we both looked, and I had said, okay, well, this game because he didn't buy the bundle, this was one of them that actually was multiplayer. So I said, well, I already have this game, and it's only $10. I feel bad making you play it, but if you really want to do a board game, this is an actual multiplayer game that we can play.
Which one of you were Kristen Stewart?
We both kind of were.
Weird.
Yeah, it got real weird.
Okay.
But anyways, but we both won, and by we both won, I mean I won, because now if you were to ask me, if you said, Lucas, how did you win Twilight Struggle?
Lucas, how did you win Twilight Struggle?
I have no clue. I don't know. I do know that one time Josh screwed himself over by clicking a wrong button or something. I secretly think he just wanted the pain to end, but he says that he just did it on accident. So if you look at pictures of this game, it looks sort of like Risk. You have this world map of the 1960s Cold War era, and it's just filled with information and numbers, and it is practically impenetrable to figure out what you're supposed to do. So instead of playing the tutorial, we decided just to jump in and play.
Smart.
It was a terrible idea. It was just the worst. We thought maybe we could pick it up, and we did eventually try to figure out what we were doing, but I don't know. I don't know what I did, but I won 2 times, and I'll take it, because we're probably never going to play this game again. It wasn't bad. It's just there were so many systems that unless you sat down with this rule book, you wouldn't pick it up. And some of the better games, I think, especially when a computer is handling most of the work for you. I had mentioned when we were playing it, I said to him, this must be a nightmare to play as an actual board game, because there's got to be so much that the computer is handling for us that we would undoubtedly screw up. And then you'd get halfway through the game and say to yourself, I'm pretty sure we just played this wrong for the last half hour, and none of this.
Yeah, I'm looking at it on Board Game Geek, and average playtime is 120 to 180 minutes.
Oh god.
It is ranked though an 8.3 out of 10, so it's
That's
reviewed
really
pretty
good.
well.
Yeah.
But the complexity rating, they do on a scale like 5 being the hardest to learn and execute. This is like a 3.6, so it is higher up on there as far as complexity for a game. So certainly not like Risk or Candyland or something.
Well, it seemed to be that once you know what you're looking at, then because I was looking some stuff up and somebody had mentioned once you know what the cards do, you don't even have to read them anymore. You just kind of know what the cards do. And so I think that's probably why it's not the highest complexity, but yeah, there was just things going on that I couldn't describe. There was a space race. There was, you could spend influence and then apply them to countries.
Mm-hmm.
Then there were scoring times where you'd have a scorecard based on the Middle East or the Asian area or Europe, Western Europe or whatever. And we didn't understand why we kept getting these scorecards because they say they cannot be held. And we're like, well, they're in our hand. So what do you mean they can't be held? Of course, later we found out that means you have to play it
that turn
before the end of the round.
Mm-hmm.
The round was like 6 or 7 turns. And there was just so much going on that we tried to give it our best. But I think after 2 sessions, we were just kind of like, yeah, we'll have a lot to talk about. Let's just put it that way. I don't know if we'll ever play it again.
Yeah.
No. So yeah, that was what I had been playing.
Cool. So for me, the only things, like we mentioned, Apex, which I already mentioned, much like 90% of PSVG, returned to Hyrule's the thing, replaying Breath of the Wild, which I had actually officially started. Haven't gotten very far, but I'm still on the Grand Plateau, whatever the first area is in the game. I'm still just making my way exploring through that for the time being. So I'm taking it slow only because, infamously enough, much like Jason had mentioned, he kind of rushed through his first playthrough because he had a set limited time before his son was born to try and knock this game out. And I had to get through the game in time to review it with Donnie. So I was like forced to just blitz through it. So I'm really going to take my time this time where I think everyone else is going to be moving much faster, but I want to see if I get a different experience out of it than I did the first time. But the one I want to talk about a little bit more is actually Crackdown 3. Wow. So as Lucas said, more people need to be talking about the Division 2. I think Crackdown 3 hasn't gotten its fair shake either. So I mentioned this a few weeks back that I was playing it, and then I kind of stopped for a while, but I went back to it this week, and I think I've played like 2 or 3 nights in a row and tore through. I'm probably about 70 or 80% through the campaign now. I still really, really like it. So it doesn't look like a current gen game. It looks like something that could have been pulled off on the 360 or PS3. But it is just so much fun, I think. And that's the thing for me. Like it is a little bit of a collectathon. So you kind of have some of the Spider-Man vibes from PS4 where like, hey, collect all the backpacks. Like in this one, you collect all the other agents' DNA. Not in a dirty way, but it's because they were all, spoilers, the whole agency was murdered at the beginning and only the character you select was resurrected. So if you're able to recover your teammates' DNA, you can then play as those characters. So essentially you're unlocking the rest of the team. Not that I have any incentive to play as anybody else but Terry Crews, because that is the best way to play.
I thought he was the only character in the game. I didn't realize you could pick anything else.
He might as well be.
Why would you? Why is your character fully voiced by Terry Crews and everything?
Yes.
Why would you choose anything else?
Exactly. That's my whole thing. I don't see any incentive. Now, each agent does have different perks. So like Terry Crews is like plus 10% explosive damage, and like other people can drive better or whatever. But it's so minimal that I don't even care, because you can level up all those things if you just play as the same character anyway. So I'm completely content with playing Terry Crews. The voiceover acting is great. Just him. It's just him. Like he is a character. I think that's the best way to put it. Like Terry Crews doesn't play a character. That just is Terry Crews all the time, no matter what he's doing. And it's a lot of fun. So yeah, I'm near the end of that game, but it's definitely worth a playthrough, especially if you have Game Pass, because it's on there already. You don't need to go out and buy the game. Just play it. You can probably, if you're an active gamer, you get a lot of free time, you could easily beat this game in probably a week or 2, I think, based on the amount of time I've put into it and how far I've made it. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I still stand by that. Out of all the first-party Xbox games to come out on Game Pass, this is hands down, leaps and bounds, way better than anything else that's come out. Yes, even more than Forza. Yeah, I've put way more time into this and having a heck of a lot more fun. And I wish more people got a chance to play it and experience it. I think I streamed it for like an hour and a half last night too on Mixer. But yeah, having a ton of fun. So I know you guys can't play it because you don't have Xbox, and I don't think it's on PC, at least not yet. But
I don't know why they don't start putting everything on PC. We'll see.
I agree. I think Game Pass, maybe that's an E3 announcement for this year. The Game Pass just expands to both PC, and as long as the game is on both or could be on both, anything new should be. But any game, I can understand other games you bring to Game Pass maybe can't be on PC, but anything first party should be in my mind. But we'll see.
Yeah.
But all right,
Halo's coming to PC.
What is
Halo? Halo Master Chief Collection, which is 1, 2, 3.
It's all of them except for 5 or 6, whatever the new one is.
Or yeah. So.
That they're all hitting now with the last announcement. They're releasing it like almost episodically though. They're doing like one game at a time. So Reach is the first one, then Halo 1 is coming up because they're not done. And instead of waiting until all these games are remastered and put out on PC, they want to release one at a time to give you something to play, and then they'll release the other ones as they complete and finish them. So
yeah,
not the worst. And PC players only had Halo 1 and 2 anyway. And the Halo Wars, but like as far as the mainstream games, only 1 and 2, right? So
I think they only had 1.
Yeah, and even that I think was like a weird port or something like that. I don't know. Who knows?
I don't remember.
Halo 2 is on PC.
It was?
Yep.
Well, that's news to me.
You can buy it on 32-bit Vista DVD on Amazon right now. So that shows you how long it was on PC.
Wow.
Microsoft Vista. I miss that.
Probably.
No, you don't. You don't miss it. But yeah, so exciting things. But let's move on. It's been another week, so let's talk about the news of the week.
I'm Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite news outlet on the Citadel.
First one up, as of us recording this, the GDC Awards was last night. And I didn't watch the whole thing, but this story kind of came out and it kind of echoes something we've heard a lot in the industry lately. So I did want to talk about it. There was a whole segment where the head of Double Fine was out there, and he was hosting the Developers Choice Awards, and he made a note there saying, "I'm not anti-union, but I don't think we really need them, right? We're all great here in this show, and no one here is union." And then all the lights went out in the arena, and he then says, "Oh, right, all the lighting crew, I forgot they're all union." And then the producers gave him a chipmunk voice and said, "Oh yeah, that's right. The producers are union." And they kept changing his teleprompter to say onion and stuff like that. So they were like really just screwing with them, but clearly it was all staged. But then once again, this is somebody in the industry now that's head of a studio saying we should be unionized. So that's kind of a first big move to see something like that happen. Yes, Double Fine is not, EA. It's not, Ubisoft.
Yeah.
But you think at that stage, if somebody in a smaller studio is willing to go unionized, that means he would have no problem if his staff was union.
Yeah.
So for a small studio, that's a little ballsy to be like, I got no problem if you unionize, because that could, unions can be good, but in certain situations, if a company's not financially stable, a union can actually cripple that company a little more than the flexibility you have of non-union employees.
Yeah.
Especially if you're doing that like end of game crunch where like, hey, we have to get this game out. We got to put in those crazy weeks just to get this game released, not, 80-hour work weeks, the entire process, but that last month or something, maybe people are crunching extra hours. Union can sit there and say, nope, that's not in the contract. So then what do? You delay the game. Then all of a sudden your game comes out, releasing alongside, Super Smash Brothers, something like that. And your game just gets buried and you're out of business then. But yeah, so I think I kind of want to talk a little bit about your guys' opinions on video game unionized. So we heard it a lot with voice actors is probably the most vocal group about being unionized, but developers, we're seeing more and more of these studios shuttering, massive layoffs. Was it Activision or Blizzard did it recently?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. EA had a bunch of layoffs. But then they reported record earnings and stuff like that. It was across a few different places. Yeah.
So they reported record earnings and then laid off a whole bunch of people. But as we know, that's kind of the standard in the industry. Not every game company developer can sustain a crew the size it takes. Or if you're producing, if you're in production on, let's say, 8 different games, as you wrap up 5 or 6 of those games, do you need that massive staff when they're not working on anything actively? No, you really don't. And do you have the capacity to work on 8 projects at all times? Most likely, maybe you could, but are the 8 products that are actually going to sell and make money in the long run, or are they just products you're getting out? That's the big issue you run into. So yeah, I for one don't have a problem with it, but I think somehow I don't know how you handle it, but I don't think it should be like a full scale union, because as we see in certain things, government employees, sometimes teachers unions, which teachers are underpaid hands down, but you see situations where they strong arm things sometimes and cause, more damage than they do good in some situations, that it's a little tough.
I can speak to that because my wife is a teacher, and my wife,
very nice.
I do that to Jason sometimes, and it's always like a 50-50 whether or not he's actually going to do it. Is part of the problem with that, like you said, teachers are already underpaid anyways, but they also require that you pay your union dues. And once you realize how much your union dues are and how much that's coming out of your monthly pay, it's just kind of, now they have helped my wife when she was caught up in a legal thing that had nothing to do with her really at all. She was just getting pointed at to take the blame for the most part. They helped in that situation, but the problem is the money we've spent, the amount, it's like $1,200 a year or something like that.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't equal out.
And if you don't need that, if you go your whole, it just depends on what the unions are doing for you, I guess, and how much you value that experience. But the thing about this is also teachers kind of have set times when they work for the most part. And I feel like there are some extra benefits. You can't really compare it 1-to-1 and say this union is like this union. Cause I would imagine we've heard stories where game developers have to pull all-nighters and everyone's asked to do it, but no one is, nobody held a gun to their head and said, you have to, but what are you going to say no to your employer? So I can also see the positives. It's a tough, like you said, it's tough because there are pros and cons to the whole idea. So,
right. I mean, when you look at unions too, it's typically the entire company or the entire workforce is unionized. So when you look at things like grocery stores or another one, I don't know if it's the same way out there in Michigan or if this is an East Coast thing, but like grocery store employees are unionized over here. So you have like managers who might benefit from being union and being protected, but then you have like the kid who stocks produce. That kid's paying union dues. What is he benefiting out of that? He's making like just over minimum wage. It's not really helping him unless that's like a career goal for him to just be, I want to work in a grocery store, which is fine, but it's not the same. With teachers, you see like teachers have the union and the janitorial staff is on there. And depending on the setup there, like the cafeteria staff might be included or might not be if it's a privately run cafeteria. Some forces do that too. But so how do you do that in the gaming industry? So like you don't get voice actors that work for a specific studio. Yeah. So how does that work? Like,
well, the voice actors should be covered under the regular acting guilds and stuff like that.
That I agree.
Yeah. But the same problem would happen though. Like, does the 3D animation guy, does he pay the same dues as the manager or who's making 3 times as much as him or whatever? And it's like, well, how do you balance all that out?
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say in film, I believe you have to work on a certain number of, if I'm remembering correctly, you have to work on a certain number of films and have a certain amount of hours before you can be considered for the union or something like that. So at least that protects you from just starting out and then having to immediately pay union dues or something.
That's true.
Like that. So maybe you could do a certain amount of hours before you'd have to pay, and then that would keep you from. I guess I just don't know how many hours, like what's a typical total hours on a project or whatever. Cause you could probably easily surpass that if it was too low, but something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. That's the problem. It's like, it's such a weird industry to work in. And my biggest problem is like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm just being negative or being like, not being sympathetic, but like, I'm kind of just like sick of hearing about it. Cause I have been in jobs where you're persuaded to stay late, and I was just like, no, not doing it. Because guess what? You can't actually fire me because I worked 9 to 5 and I'm good. So, so like, and I know that's like simplifying it a lot, and it's not necessarily fair. And also like, I have kind of negative views on like one of the biggest unions in the United States, like the UAW. Like, I've known a lot of people who were paid ridiculous amounts of money to push a broom. And I've seen that, and I've heard all the stories of the guy pushing the broom can't go over and help out his buddy push a button on a machine or something for 2 seconds because, I'm in a union, so I'm going to stay over here and just make my $30 an hour. And like,
they did similar to Target. Sorry, just real quick. They did similar to Target. They said, basically, we don't want you to think about unionizing or else you can't help anybody else. That means you have to do the job that you're stuck in.
Yeah. And I've heard those stories from people who work in the automotive industry. And I think that's partly what destroyed Detroit was paying certain employees a little bit too much. I mean, there's way more into that's oversimplification, but just in general, like it's going to take so long to figure out. And the big studios are just never going to do it because they work across like 5-10 different countries. And that's
how do you manage that? Yeah.
That might be the biggest problem is like, well, of course, like Tim Schafer can say Double Fine's going to unionize, but they're all based in the United States or Canada or whatever. So it's EA and Ubisoft. Like you can't. I don't think it's possible to unionize across Japan and Europe and America all at once. Maybe there should just. I don't know. I almost feel like the game developers just need to like revolt and be like, no. Like we're not working 100-hour weeks. See you later. Good luck finding someone else with that skill set. Because like as many kids as are going to school, like at the end of the day, like you need, smart employees. And so I don't know. That's just me being negative, Nancy. And I
agree with you to a certain degree, though.
Like I just don't see how it works. I think there needs, and if it does, it needs to be pretty mild. And you don't want to give the union too much power. And I guarantee you, if unionization happens at all, 100% games are gonna go
up in price,
way more expensive.
Yeah. I think that's a definite downstream effect that's going to hit the gamers, which is also going to be tough because we're looking at all these streaming things coming through. Game Pass, Google's thing that we should probably talk about at some point, but we'll save that for another day. Whatever. They made some minor announcement, but all these services coming through. So like, what happens with those? Do we see models like Netflix, which Netflix is going strong? We see tons of stuff coming out, but they have so much debt, they're not making money. They're spending way more than what they're bringing in. So you start adding in additional costs there too. I think that the biggest thing I think we're all in agreement here is that something needs to be done to protect game developers overall, give them some stability. Like it's crazy. We see studios that make like these great games and then next thing you know, they're just gone because maybe they were mismanaged at a higher level or, the people running marketing didn't do what they did effectively or whatever the case is. But you run into those issues that the stigma that comes along also with unionizing. Like I want people protected, but I don't know if that's the best way of doing this per se in this case.
Yeah. And
then my other gripe that you didn't really touch on, which I'm kind of surprised on too, is the thing that drives me nuts about unions in general. They make so much freaking money.
Yeah.
They're not doing the work. Yeah. All they're doing is contract negotiations. And if something doesn't go in their favor, they say, all right, don't go to work anymore. Okay, why are we paying you to sit? Like, it makes no sense. You have another party telling you, all right, don't go to work. And now you can't cross those picket lines. Okay, what am I supposed to do to feed my family? Don't worry about it. I got you. Like, what?
Well, yeah, that's kind of where with my wife, they did help with legal representation and stuff. They were in charge of that. But I can't imagine that some lowly concept artist dude is getting, sued for whatever. So I don't think it needs to be as complicated. And like you said, I don't think unionizing is the best answer. I really don't. It always looks good on paper, and then you actually become a part of it, and then you're like, oh, never mind. This is just as bad as not being unionized, just in a different way. I think it's more that these companies need to be more responsible for the people who work for them. If who's to say if you want to work 100-hour weeks, more power to you. But if you want to say no, then that shouldn't, like you said, that shouldn't be you shouldn't be worried about your job safety. It's unfortunate, but I do think it's kind of a negative aspect of that type of work. Pretty much any entertainment industry job seems to be kind of awful to a certain degree, depending on where you end up.
That's the problem. Is like really high highs and really low lows. Like you get mistreated at the lower end, but if you make it to the upper echelon, like okay, you're basically a celebrity now, and we're gonna pay you whatever we want, or whatever you want, and it's kind of like that. Same with like acting and other roles. Like, hey, you're just an extra. We're gonna treat you like complete crap. Oh, hey, you're a movie star. You get whatever you want in the entire world, including like some really shady stuff. So, like, it's like there's no just middle ground. Like, we can't just all be happy and make a few bucks.
Well, that's the kind of news story of America right now, isn't it? That the middle class is shrinking, and there's just a larger and larger divide between the lower class and the upper class. And
yeah,
it does feel that way, because I don't know too many people who say, yeah, we're well off. It's either, or that we're good, we're comfortable where we're at. It's either we don't make enough money, or I don't know anybody who's rich, but they're just like, no, I'm rich. It's fine. I'm going to buy 5 Audis or whatever. I don't need them, but so
I got 3 in my driveway. It's no big deal.
All that YouTube money rolling in.
Yes.
All right. So moving on to another GDC announcement story here. We know Nintendo had an Indie Direct. You can hear all about that, I'm sure, on the Nintendo Track podcast. I'm sure they covered that there. So we're not going to dive into that. But at the GDC event, Nintendo did share that indies are very important and crucial to what they see as their ecosystem. And we think that that's proven itself so far. We see lots of these indies kind of become the highlight for Nintendo during, in between sessions of, Mario or Zelda coming out, like these gaps they have in their own development games. These indies fill in these gaps quite nicely. They released a list of the top 10 selling indies on Nintendo Switch. Now, this is in no particular order. We don't know the actual sales numbers. Would you say, Lucas?
I said, which annoys me, because I saw it earlier and I almost made it my bring to the table. But I was guessing
because they don't want to offend the other developers. Be like, hey, this one sold 5 million more than this one. Participation awards or participation awards. Darn it. Now, if they unionize, we'd know these numbers. But
exactly.
So I just kind of want to run down this list and get you guys' thoughts on these. I think, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of the 10 I've played and owned currently, so it's all good. But Stardew Valley, I don't think there's any surprise there. Hollow Knight, one of our Game of the Year things for last year. Overcooked 2.
Yeah.
Another great game. Undertale.
Yeah.
Played it as well. Dead Cells.
I was hoping you just do it for all of them.
Dead Cells is like lukewarm water for me. Hollow Knight is the hotness, and Dead Cells is just like, I wish I was playing Hollow Knight right now.
Enter the Gungeon, which I don't know why this is on this list. I'm going to be honest. Like,
I only know of it from like previews and stuff. I've never played it though.
Right. I don't think anybody in our entire staff has played this game. Like, I'm wondering if it was just on like a dirt cheap sale and that's how it got on this list.
$4.
Yeah. Graceful Explosion Machine, which we've had some people play that, but I think that was also only $5. So that might have something to do with it too.
Yeah.
Celeste. A lot of people talked about that a few years ago. That was a big one. Golf Story, one of my favorites. Love that freaking game. So that's a great one. And then the original Overcooked.
That's huge. 2 Overcooked 1 and 2 being on best time, all time best selling. You know what surprises me? The Messenger wasn't on here.
Ooh, and that came out around the same time as Dead Cells, right? Didn't it? They were very close, weren't they?
No, it just came.
No, it just came out to PlayStation.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I think it came out around the same time as Dead Cells. I thought.
I feel like it came out
a little more niche
before Dead Cells, or at least before Hollow Knight, maybe.
I know Dead Cells was so huge. I feel like a lot of people were talking about it, and like I didn't play it. I've only Stardew Valley is the only one I've got on this list.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't really pick up a lot of games on my Switch except for the big hitters. And I've played Overcooked on PlayStation and stuff. So.
I don't blame you, because when you're a PC gamer, you can get all of these games for like $2.
Yeah, like all of them at once. It's a pack. Yeah.
So Dead Cells and The Messenger both came out in August of last year on Switch. Yeah. Messenger was at the end of the month. Dead Cells was at the beginning of the month. But yeah, they were both like right around the same time.
Okay, you were right then.
And Undertale, I don't get it.
You don't get Undertale?
No, not at all.
Quick experience story here. I agree, because I started this game because so many people were talking about how much they love it, and I just didn't get it. Now then I came back later. I probably put 2 hours into it before I stopped. Then I came back later to give it another shot, And then I liked it. Like at first I couldn't stomach its
Aesthetic,
ridiculous, silly aesthetic. Yeah. But then I kind of got it after I let it set with me for a while. But it took me, there were about 3 months in between. And then I finally came back to it. And then I got it. Now I love it. But I can totally understand why people, it's not an easily recommendable game, especially if you don't like the mechanics of basically bullet dodging.
And that's what I think threw me off. Was if it was a turn-based RPG or something like that, I think I would have enjoyed it more. But like, I got into the battle and then I was like, I'm just dodging bullets. Like, what am I doing? And
And one of the things that killed it for me is that everyone was like, Kevin, you have to play this game. It's inspired by Earthbound. And I played it. I'm like, this is nothing like Earthbound. Like, what do you?
The combat definitely is not.
No, I was like, and the story didn't seem to be on par. The humor was maybe kinda along the same lines.
Yeah.
But the one thing I really enjoyed about Undertale, to be honest, because I didn't like my time beat it, I didn't really enjoy it. The soundtrack was great. Music was great. Amazing. But that was it. For me, that was it. All right. So Lucas, what do you got for news?
Oh, yes. Big news for me because I just feel like this just needed to happen for so long. So the Steam library, your Steam library, everyone's Steam library is getting a makeover. Face off. Makeover face off. Something like that. The face of library is about to change, and it's a long time coming because I swear this thing has been the same since Steam existed. Now the store was overhauled a few years ago, I think, and that was huge. But right now it's ugly. It basically looks like what you would imagine if you just opened a browser window on your computer.
It's very PC.
Yeah, it is. It looks ugly. When you look at your library, depending on how you have it set up, there's no real good way of setting it up, except to me, the detail view. Because if you start getting a lot of games, and then you try to do like a tile view where it shows you the art, then it's too difficult to scroll through all that stuff because there's no sorting. It's just alphabetical. So here it'll be more, it'll look more like your boxes sitting on a shelf, but you actually put the ones that you play the most at the top, or there will be some stuff mixed in with the games that you play the most. They'll tell you what else is going on in that community, like news or patch notes or whatever. It's just kind of combining a couple of elements that are separated right now in the library and putting it all together in a much nicer looking package. And I think the beta for the update will be sometime in the summer this year. So it's a little ways off, but it's just sorely needed because anything else looks better than this, honestly. I ended up downloading that thing that I showed you. I can't remember what it's called. The launcher system that just...
it takes all your libraries?
Yeah, it takes all your libraries on a computer and puts them together so you don't have to have 20 launchers at the same time. And that has it's a free to download program and it looks better than this does. Man. So I don't know why it took this long, but it's great that it is finally happening because I think it's a huge turnoff, especially now in the Apple days where you expect everything to look functionality, I guess aesthetic first, then functionality, but also they both need to work hand in hand. So
yeah, I think the biggest thing is it's the competition drives change. And now that they have to worry about the Epic Game Store and, Twitch has the game store and Galaxy of Games, as you said, like a few weeks ago, has its own game store.
Galaxy. Yes, exactly.
Humble Bundle, all that stuff. So I think they finally realized like, hey, there's a lot of, news, especially with Epic, with these exclusives that they're getting and not allowing them on Steam, that we're seeing them having to try and change the game a little bit to stay marketable, I think, to other developers and stuff. So
yeah. Well, and it's not, it's not fair to compare them because Epic Game Store has like 5 games on it.
Right.
It looks a lot better in every single way. Yep. And I think that's kind of what they're going for.
I agree.
So it'll be good. It'll be good for me.
For a lot of people, not just you. Don't be silly.
I don't hear anyone else talking about Steam or Humble Bundle. Did I tell you about Humble Bundle?
Yes. Okay. Numerous times.
Never heard of it.
On this show and others. Justin, what'd you bring tonight to discuss?
Yeah, I got like more of a techie news story, but relates to video games in a big way because of that, so-called Google announcement that happened within the last week.
Never heard of it.
Yeah. So the FCC, I guess, just published a report basically saying a lot of people have broadband and have access to broadband, and Microsoft came out and was like, no, that's not true. Most people don't have broadband, and you're extremely wrong, basically. Which I have broadband. Obviously a lot of us have broadband, but I know a ton of people that don't even have close to it. And I don't even know what the word broadband means at this point. Like, I use cable, I guess, technically, but like, I don't know. Like, some people have AT&T. Is that not broadband? Because whatever. But regardless, I think the FCC they're supposed to be slowly ensuring that all Americans are granted access to broadband and fast internet, because more and more stuff is online only. Literally call any like service and they're like, hey, I know you want to talk to a person, but have you checked out our website? And it's like, we call your insurance company. How many times do you have to hear that, like, you go to our website to schedule a report or text us? And it's like, okay, yeah, but what if I don't have internet? Or like, what if I live out in the boonies and I just have so the FCC is supposed to be cracking down on that and like open it. It's kind of their job over, as they make that a requirement of the American people, much like they made telephones at one point.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be doing that with broadband or fast internet. And Microsoft's kind of coming along, and Microsoft's huge about gathering. I mean, they're a huge company, but one of their biggest things, and like the Bill Gates Foundation, is like gathering information. That's all they do, is just gather information, so they can confidently say, no, the government's wrong and lying again, and you're not getting enough people broadband faster, basically, and really. The FCC's to blame, as well as all the ISPs.
Right.
But I think the point is the FCC should be enforcing the ISPs, like, hey, get your crap together, go out there, and get service to all these areas. If people don't want it, that's one thing, but like, it's not available in a lot of areas still. So
right, and we rely on it for so many things, and you see like the industry's pushing for everything. Your smart connected homes. Like you think back 10 years, if you had something that was like voice controlled or interacted with the internet in a unique way, that was a luxury.
Yeah.
Nowadays, that's common. You can get an Echo Dot and control all the lights in your house for like $30. Like,
yeah, it's insane.
But you need to have this coverage, and they're just so slow moving with this. But yet, the cable companies want to charge you an arm and a leg for your internet access. They claim you get these speeds, which conveniently you only see these speeds when you're actually doing a speed test, but you never actually see it in practical application that you're hitting these download speeds they reference. Yeah. I can tell you how many times I do a download speed check, and it says, I'm hitting what I'm paying for. I think I have mine's 50/50.
Yeah.
And like, I'll hit that or higher on my speed test. But if I go to actually download something, I'm getting like 5 megabytes a second. Like, it's not, I'm not getting that speed. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
So I think that's a big part of it too, is like how it's actually being rolled out. But you're right. If you don't want it, that's one thing. But I think at this point, we're getting to the point that it's a basic need, I think, for us in our society.
Yeah. Like I said, like the when you want to call your insurance company or something like that, like a provider or your local government, and they're pushing you to do online stuff, it's like, okay, well, because they're doing it now, it's like, I need to have internet or recent, and a lot of those things require a decent connection. So, and like, I remember I used to have AT&T, and I thought I was paying for 25 down or whatever, and I go to do a speed test, and it's like, you're getting 6 down, and I was like, what? And then like, you look in the small print, and it's like, yeah, sometimes you'll get 25, but sometimes you'll get 3. So good luck. That's like, okay, well, why isn't someone cracking down on that? So, Microsoft called them out on their BS basically. And, I think that's probably good. So yeah,
I agree. 3 megabytes up. See, the download's not too bad. 25 megabytes per second down isn't too bad, but the upload 3 megabytes per second, that's terrible. That is
right.
That's the standard. I think that really is the standard. Because I think that's what I used to get with AT&T, which is is technically broadband, but it's not cable. It's via a landline, I think.
Oh.
And that's the max they could go is like 25. And I was like, well, that's not very fast. Like nowadays.
Yeah, they came around my house and they were trying to sell us on. We were already Comcast, and I hate Comcast. By the
Everyone
way,
hates Comcast.
Yeah, who likes AT&T or Comcast really? But I asked them what their fastest internet was, because they were like, "Oh, the fastest internet we have is now available in your area," and they said it was something like 25 megabytes.
He said, "Okay, see ya."
I said, "I'm getting, I think, 80 through Comcast right now."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Well, we have like a business tier that we could set you up with." And I'm like, I don't need to come install fiber optic into my house or anything. I'm just, I don't mind playing in the field if I know that your technology is, up to snuff, but that clearly is not. So
you're all about playing the field.
I am, me.
Yep.
Yeah. So I did a speed test while you guys were talking. So it's saying right now I have 95.9 megabytes download, 89.9 upload.
Good Lord.
Damn, dude.
But if I download anything, I'm telling you, if I do like a patch in any sort of game or whatever, it is way slower than that.
Well, that is an issue with essentially gaming system specifically. You have to go through PlayStation or Xbox's servers, which immediately slow everything down.
Yeah.
Like PlayStation's notorious for that. And Xbox too. It's like, it's just painfully slow for some reason. Like it's so funny. Like we're so used to like downloading updates and like you can't just buy a game anymore. You have to come home and let it load up. My wife, like, it blew her mind because I got like a free Redbox game the other day, and I was like, I grabbed it, but I don't know why, because realistically, I bring it home, I pop it in, I have to wait like at least an hour to even play it. And she's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "I can't just play it." She's like, "What? Like you have the disc?" I'm like, "Yeah, it doesn't really mean much anymore. Like I just gotta wait or play the subpar version." But
they continue to bug test or remove bugs from the game and play test and everything after they print all the discs and everything.
Yeah.
Jeez. Can't you just finish a game? Just move it up 2 weeks. I'm sorry that 12-year-old Jimmy is going to get upset that he can't have Grand Theft Auto 6 now, but whatever. I just want the game to work. It is.
Yeah, Jimmy can go outside and light cars on fire or whatever. I mean, I'm sure that's what he's into anyway. So
right.
You can punch those hookers and just get your money back in real life, Timmy.
Yeah,
that's a very grown-up problem to have, anyways, because most kids are probably like, "Okay, well, I'll just go do my homework and then I can sit down and play this for 5 hours." Meanwhile, we're like, "I have 45 minutes to play. What does it now?"
That is realistic. Yep.
99? All right, let's go.
Yeah. All right, one last story. We'll wrap things up here because we're running just out of time at this point here. The World Video Game Hall of Fame in Rochester, New York announced its 12 finalists for the Hall of Fame inductees actually today. So here's the list of potential inductees. Candy Crush.
Not in any order because we don't want them to feel bad.
No, not in any order. Candy Crush. Centipede.
Meh. Old game.
Yeah.
Colossal Cave Adventure.
Never heard of it.
Me either.
Well,
It's probably an Atari game.
Probably. Dance Dance Revolution.
I have danced some revolutions in my time.
Yeah, you have. Half-Life.
Yes.
That's a good one. Microsoft Windows Solitaire.
yeah.
I prefer pinball, but I'll take the solitaire.
Yeah.
If it was in our Steam libraries, it would have the most hours.
Probably true.
Mortal Kombat.
Yes.
Makes
Yeah.
sense. Myst. Also makes sense.
Good. Yep.
NBA 2K.
Yeah.
Sid Meier's Civilization.
The original.
Yep.
Nice.
Super Mario Kart.
Ooh, baby.
And Super Smash Bros. Melee.
That's too much super.
That's a lot of
too much
super.
super.
That's a lot of super. But yeah, so it's funny. So these 12 World Video Game Hall of Fame finalists span decades, gaming platforms, and countries of origin. But what they all have in common is their undeniable impact on the world of gaming and pop culture, says John Paul Dyson, director of the Strong International Center for the History of Electronic Games, aka the Strong Museum of Play, aka, hey, I interviewed that dude. He wrote that book that Caroline and I did the interview on for the history of games and 64 objects.
Damn, you're like famous.
I am super famous. I don't know if you've heard of me. I'm kind of a big deal.
I heard you cook really well.
Anyway, so yeah, there's some ones I think that are fitting.
What's your vote?
Oh, if I had to pick just one,
Yeah.
I think I would, as far as revolutionizing or being like an important part of gaming history, if I had to pick just one, I'm going to go with Mortal Kombat.
Yes.
And I think it's only because that changed what we looked at as far as violence in video games and maturity levels in video games, as well as it revolutionized fighting games a bit. Like that and Street Fighter 2, I think are like the fighting games that defined the genre that continues to evolve to this day. Now, Super Smash Bros. Melee, everyone loves that one. I think that's like the best Smash up until this most recent one. But the first one is really what drove that in my mind. So when I'm thinking like the Hall of Fame, you got to go with like the original ones, I think. Oh, yeah. That set a precedent. So that's why I would pick Mortal Kombat there. What about you?
I would go with Half-Life.
That's a great one, too.
Single player stories.
You guys picked good stuff.
What would you pick? Some Dance Dance
Candy
Revolution?
Crush. No, I was going to pick Mortal Kombat because of the reasons that you gave, honestly. But Half-Life was a close second. You know what? I will say, though, because in this type here, it says, whether it's a true pioneer like Colossal Cave Adventure, which means it's an old game from
probably
Commodore 64 or something. I challenge anyone here who's listening right now to my voice to tell me about your experience with Colossal Cave Adventure, because I have never heard of this game. I don't know anybody who's ever talked about it in my entire life. So please tell me about Colossal Cave Adventure.
Oh my God. It's a text-based adventure game developed between 1975 and 1977. It was initially on the DEC PDP-10. I don't even know what that is.
Well, it's that house over there that has 8,000 refrigerator-sized computers in it.
Yeah, it looks like. I mean, it looks like it's a DOS text adventure game. That's all it is.
Yeah, it's basically like the original adventure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you would have to be what, 50-ish, late 50s to even remember that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the oldest out of this group, and I wasn't born for 60 years after this. So like,
yeah, so nobody's going to be talking to us about Colossal Cave Adventure.
No. Yeah, that's true. There's
everybody who played that game is dead now.
Cold-hearted. Yeah.
Yeah.
On that note,
what do you say we wrap things up, gentlemen?
With a bow.
All right. Oh. Justin, where can people find you, and what else are you up to on those interwebs?
I'm always on the PSVG Discords. Well, not always. Sometimes I pop in there. I grace you all with my presence in there. But when I need to escape for the day, hop in the Discord channel. And then I am one of the co-hosts of PSXP, our PlayStation podcast that goes up every Wednesday morning.
That is true. What's your PSN name if people want to play Apex with you?
Oh, it's really horrible. Speaking of which, I need to come up with something new because my PSN name is Closet Gamer with 3 underscores.
Oh, that's right.
Between them. So I don't know. I trying my Xbox. The first username I ever created was JMoney860.
Okay.
Yeah, buddy.
Which is still my Xbox One, and I don't have Xbox One, so I kind of wish I would have just stuck with it just to like own it. But I was like, I was trying to come up with something cool, and I was like, oh, I'm like hidden in the closet. Like I don't tell people I'm a gamer.
Trapped in a closet.
Now I'm just like, what a dumb idea that was. So if anyone listening has any better ideas for my stupid PSN name, I'm all ears.
Does it have to do with closets or being
No, I'm very much into closets, Lucas. Like I don't know if you saw or if I've told you before, but like I have a lot of closets in my house and I put a lot of things in them.
You're in a closet right now, aren't you?
I am. Yeah.
Big closet. It's a walk-in.
It's a walk-in.
It's a big closet. So there you go. New Patreon tier. If we hit $300 a month, you get to pick. We'll do a raffle for who gets to pick Justin's new PSN name. So $300 a month, we will do a contest to pick Justin's name.
Yes. I'll change it on all platforms.
Yes.
Nice.
Lucas, where can people find you and the shenanigans you partake in other than this?
I'm on the Discord usually as well, all the time. Literally all of the time. I swoop in and I derail conversations. It's just what I do. I'm also on Fluxtapose, that show that we constantly can't keep ourselves from referencing because it's just a silly, wacky show where we talk about nothing. So it's
Never
like 5 downloaded, 2 halfway played, 3 not played at all. I don't hear about it.
People were really confused by last week's show and all the references to like, wait. And I'm like, yeah, that's just an episode of Fluxtapose, really.
It's true. It's true. It's the Seinfeld of podcasts. So you can find me there as well.
All right.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So as always, head over to psvg.blog to get all the news for what's going on in our entire library of podcasts, our entire family, if you will. There you can also find the links to join us in that infamous Discord that just never stops, can't stop, won't stop. Gotta let the beat drop. You can find me on the Twitterverse at PSVG Kevin. Follow the show at PSVG for all of the different shows as well. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Thank you for hopefully telling a friend and sharing the good word. We appreciate you. But more than that, as always, we'd like to ask that you never stop gaming.
This has been a PSVG production. Any music, sound effects, or the like is owned by their respective copyright holders. No infringement is intended. The views expressed in this production are those of the individual contributor and may not necessarily reflect PSVG. This production may not be repurposed, reused, or redistributed without the express written consent of PSVG. PSVG is powered by patrons at patreon.com/PSVG. Become a patron to get special perks, including access to exclusive content.